The point that I'm trying to get across is, if Heather, I had a crystal ball and I could do a dynamic fluoroscopy test procedure on them, and I said, Heather, look where your shoulder is. To match your humeral bone with that glenoid, I need to put your arm right here as my start point. I don't have that kind of stuff in my clinic. But I'm going to put some tests associated with it, and I'm going to have a pretty good guesstimation of where your start point really is. And that's kind of what's reflected on that page 45. Same thing with regards to this humeral rotation. You'll get some impingement. On the right side, you're coming right out of that socket. That's why that right arm will go down. But you're going to be a little bit more limited in internal rotation. As you internally rotate it, you'll get a little posterior superior humeral glenoid, humeral movement on glenoid impingement. And Jonathan, you said stop. Don't go anymore. It hurts. Now, we outlined for you, Jen read it, what's going on with the ribs that puts you in that position as well. So you've got all these little tests in your manual with explanations on why it occurs the way it does. So that's what this is all about. This is a neutral right BC. This is not neutral, because if you hear this person's neutral with respect to the humeral bone on the glenoid, and here if you take that bone out to the side, they're not in a neutral position with the humeral bone because centric orientation is not correct of the glenoid. Okay, so everybody take out page 46. From this point on, what Jen is saying for everybody at home, we're assuming you're taking this at home right now, Gail. So take page 46 out of your manual, and for the rest of the afternoon, we're going to be using page 46 as a guideline. Thank you, Jen, for that reminder. Let's look at page 46 a little bit. Looks kind of busy to me, doesn't it? And if I were you, I'd be sitting there, is he going to go over all that? Joy, am I going to have to go over all that today? The answer is yes. But it's going to be safe. It's going to be easy. Let's just look at it. Okay? Let's not get caught up into which of these techniques we're going to choose. Let's just look how this thing flows. This course has changed over the years, and so it's changed better. I told Don I'm really happy with the content of this course so far because the emphasis is being placed on the things that we should be talking about in this course. Okay, it's a great group. Now we're going to talk about what you need to do to keep this BC Chris managed. And what guidelines could I give you to follow when you go home? So we're giving you these treatment guidelines, and we're basing it off of the tests that we did right before lunch. Do you see the 5 tests at the very top? There they are. And we're assuming that those tests will be more likely positive. Everybody see that? We put positive in front of them. Jonathan, I created positive tests. You're right, I did. But I didn't, Jonathan. Who did? So regardless of how you look at it, you really helped me teach on how to get a positive test by the way you could or could not breathe. After that, there's a little arrow there, and it says if those are all positive, at this point, if they're all positive, before you do anything, what's the very first thing that we might need to do at that point? Just make it simple, Stephanie. What's the very first thing I might do? I might try to pick a technique. Didn't we do this yesterday? That was a non-manual technique. And I'm going to take you through this algorithm, but we're not going to get through the entire algorithm that quick. By 5:15 this afternoon, we should be through the entire algorithm. But this is the guide on how we're going to get through it. If you take a minute and you look, you're going to see there'll be some techniques we're going to look at. Mid-page, to your left, you're going to see right superior T4 manual technique. I haven't even shown you that technique yet. But we're going to do it when we get to that point, when we know we got to do it. But I want to make sure you understand why you got to do it, where you got to do it, and when you got to do it. And then we're going to tell you what would you do immediately after you did it, so you'll learn better. You'd pick up a technique or two to help you keep it, complement it. And then next time the patient comes in, or even that day, recheck some other things that we talked about this morning. It's always safe to recheck. I don't think we recheck enough. Because when you do one thing, you might go back and find Tyler something else. God love you, Tyler. Thanks for shaking your head. I love you. You might have something else going on that you didn't know was there until you went back and what? Checked it. So that's what this is all about. Now, 5, 10, 5. 5, 10, 5. We have 5 non-manual techniques, Jen, that are outlined in the manual, correct? And are they completely outlined in the manual? Completely. Out of lots and lots of techniques, we narrowed it down to 5. You're going to pick one. Okay? Then you have 10. You have 10 techniques. And remember the word right, low trap, and remember the word right, triceps. Do you see it? There's 10 of them. They're listed on the right side of your sheet. You have all those, Jen, in the manual.
In the appendix, page 12.
Did you all hear that? Page what?
Page 12.
Write it down. Page 12 in your appendix. You've got them. We're trying to make this as easy as possible. Once you get to the point where you need those activities, you're going to go select 1 or 2 of those activities, Susan, that makes most sense for you and that patient. But Susan, that's your choice. And here's what we're saying. We don't care which of those you choose. We don't care. They're all going to do about the same thing. You just pick the one that you think your patient's going to be able to carry out the safest, acceptable way of doing it to them. Okay, so you get 10. There's another 5 down there. Jen is so right. There's another 5 down there. On the bottom of page 46, you see those 5? This word says not right. What does it say? Left. Left low trap and left serratus anterior. Well, when are we going to use those, Stephanie? And why would you use those? And why would I go over it now? Because I'm out of order right now. If I went over those right now, you wouldn't understand why I went there right now. Let's go over them when I get there after we've done everything else, so you know all the options and the opportunities you have to successfully treat the brachial chain patient on the right side. That's what this is. That's an outline. That's an algorithm. Did that make sense so far at this point? 5, 10, 5. And remind yourself that the way that the CDs, the DVD CDs are written, that they progressively get more intense the more you inhibit. And we'll go over some of the inhibition issues that go along with this as this afternoon progresses on. Okay? Okay, we got that. That was pretty easy to do. We're going to leave it out. I'm going to sit it over here. We're going to refer to it and reflect on it. Page 46. Yesterday, we picked out one of these techniques. Correct? I think the one we picked, Jonathan, was the one where you're on your back. Let's see how good you guys are. When that right arm goes forward, Rick, that posterior mediastinum is going to go back. When that right arm goes forward, Rick, that posterior mediastinum is going to go back. When that right arm is extended and this left arm is forward and you're standing on your left leg, this left posterior mediastinum is not back yet. When would it go back? When you take your breath of air in. So, let's not get wrapped up on which arm is going forward, because it depends on what, Tyler, you're doing and what position you're in. Does that make sense? So let's go to this one over here. Look at this guy. Which arm is going forward on this guy? Left one. If the left one is going forward and he's side bent to the left and he's got this right chest wall now opened up, really opened up well, I might add. His adductor's on, his right glute max is on, his abdominal wall is on, and he's reaching forward with that left arm. What is he doing when he takes a breath of air in? Rick, you know the answer. He's opening up what? The left posterior mediastinum. So this is a serratus activity for the left posterior mediastinum. It's also serratus anterior activity on the right side for scapulothoracic stability. Scapula-thoracic stability. Why? Because on the right side, the thorax is already opened. I don't need to open it anymore. I don't want it to go back. I want it to what, Tyler? Open. And when it opens, those fan blades of muscles on that right humeral bone called the right serratus anterior is going to do what? Stabilize that scapula. Not humeral bone. Right scapula to the thorax is going to do what, Tyler? Stabilize it. I've got two serratus anterior muscles working on that individual on that side. One is working more in a frontal plane with transverse demands on it, and the other one's working more in a transverse plane with frontal planes demands on it. They're different, but we're still holding up our thinking in terms of how the serratus would work. And this is, believe it or not, a serratus function, because that individual is lifting up their legs, the left adductors in the air. Do you see the left knee in the air? Okay, wait a minute. Let's get this under. Let's try to figure this guy out. She's laying on his left side, or her left side. She's got a balloon in her mouth. Which abdominal wall would have to be on right now? You'd say both, you'd be right. But the left one is stabilizing her. Her hips going into adduction. Her trunk's going into abduction, AB boyduction on the left side. She's stabilizing her body with which side? The left side. So she can expand which side? The right side. Okay. What muscle in the top 10 are we trying to get this afternoon? Let's go over it. Right low Cyriac's way of talking and teaching. What muscle are we trying to get stronger this afternoon on the right side? There's only two muscles. What muscle is it? We're going to say this a lot. Right low trap and right. That's what she's working. She's working her right low trap and right tricep to stabilize not only the spine, but to stabilize her scapula so the spine can start to rotate correctly as she picks up that left leg. That's right trunk rotation with left AFIR. This knee is forward, that knee is back. And that's a complex technique. It wouldn't be one of the first ones, Tyler, I would choose, but you could choose it, and it would do just as much good as the other four. So they got a little harder for this discussion. If you go to page 46, and I'm going to break all those down, so hang in there with me. Page 46, after you get that non-manual technique employed. Yesterday we picked one of those previous five. And we rechecked you. And all or some of the tests were still what? And Jonathan, if I use you this afternoon, I want to just thank you right off the bat. We'll use you as a teaching tool, okay, right now? If all your tests are positive, you cannot make a mistake, Jonathan, if you say something. Just tell us what's on your mind. First class you've ever taken. I'm so glad you're here. If some or all those tests were still positive, there's something still going on that you don't like. What do you think we might do next? Look at the algorithm. What would we do next? What does it say? Jonathan, what does it say? What's this next thing it's going to say? All tests remain positive. What are we going to do next with you? We're going to do a left AIC manual technique. Jonathan, that's what we did yesterday. I did a left AIC manual technique on you yesterday. So far, this is a review. Everybody with me? So far. Okay, Jonathan, I did that left AIC manual technique on you. And then I'm saying, I wonder if all his tests are going to be negative. For teaching only, Jonathan. For teaching only. They were negative. You did something when you went home last night, Kurt, which never happens. I'm using the Kurt, which never happens. If it does, we're lucky. Okay. You did something last night that reflected something in that right low trap and right tricep program. You didn't know it, but you had to have. Somehow you kept what two muscles working last night? Right low trap, right tricep. Might have been the beer you're drinking. I don't know. Somehow you kept your Rilo trap on last night. So when I said, and I don't even know if you drink beer,